For more reaction to the president's unprecedented retaliation against the former CIA director, I'm joined by MSNBC Global Affairs analyst John McLaughlin, former deputy director of the CIA and former acting director of the CIA. John, this afternoon you were kind enough to get on the phone with me when this news first broke to talk it through. Now that we've had a few hours to listen to it and you've heard John Brennan's own words, what are your thoughts on what happened today?
Well, you know, I've thought a lot about it, Ali, since we had that first conversation. And I can't find any way to describe this as anything other than a transparent attempt to muzzle free speech. I actually went and I looked here at the 26-page executive directive that governs standards for classification, for clearances, and for revoking them. There are 13 reasons in there for revoking a security clearance, and not one of them matches anything close to the reasons given in the White House statement. I don't know that they've read this, but it was signed out during President Trump's administration, so he owns it. So I see it as nothing less than that, a vindictive way to mete out punishment for something that the president has heard and does not like, and then to use that as a way to intimidate others that he says he's considering taking the same action on.
But will it achieve that goal of intimidating others? The Sarah Huckabee Sanders listed a bunch of names: Michael Hayden, James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Susan Rice, Sally Yates. John Brennan doesn't seem to be too moved by this whole thing. He's offended by it. He's troubled by it. But in the end, as a punitive measure, is this going to backfire on the president and just make him look petty and punitive?
I think it's going to backfire on him. And frankly, if it gets into an administrative or court proceeding, I'm not a lawyer, but I've talked to a few since this afternoon, I don't think it would hold up. I don't think it would stand. There's procedure for, and the president has the authority to do this, but I think the gravest mistake, gravest error a president can make is to deny an American citizen their rights. And this president, in this kind of action, is not behaving like the elected president of a vibrant democracy. Right. It does have the feel of what an authoritarian tyrant does. And the White House is they're not very clever about this. They're very transparent when you listen to what they've said. They have not given a reason that matches anything in the laws of regulation commensurate with what's required to deny security clearances.
Let me ask you this, because Senator Mark Warner has a more sinister view of this whole thing. This is what he said as it relates to today's decision and the Mueller investigation. Let's listen together.
I worry whether this precedent is going to somehow lead to the president trying to take away Mueller and his whole team's security clearances. This is clearly another effort to silence critics and not allow the Mueller investigation, and for that matter, our Senate Intelligence Committee investigation, to get to the bottom of this.
It's an interesting take. What do you think of that, John?
Well, I wouldn't rule it out. You know, this president has not lost the ability to astonish us every single day with something that we wouldn't think of because it's such improper behavior for a president. So I wouldn't rule that out, although I think it may give them a little more credit than they deserve, given that this directive was dated, as someone pointed out today, way back in July. So they clearly used today as a sort of an opportunity to put it out and probably to distract from the Omarosa affair and so forth. But I wouldn't rule out anything at this point from the president, because I've sensed in the last week or two a kind of quickening panic on the part of the president and people around him about the way the walls are closing in. And this has the feel of an act of desperation, particularly when you see how transparent it is. I mean, essentially, it's denying Mr. Brennan his First Amendment rights, I think. Well, not denying his First Amendment rights. I don't think he still has his First Amendment rights. It's just punishing him for exercising them. That's an important point, and I think that's I don't see how you can put any other construction on it, because there's not been a reasonable, persuasive reason given by the White House for the action they've taken.
Careful, John McLaughlin. That kind of talk will get you labeled erratic by the White House. Who knows what they'll do.
Called worse, believe me.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you for joining me again twice today. John McLaughlin.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.